Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, March 3, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, letting me know what the that's been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next one, Jan 68 hours, that's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place over the next 7 days. As we head into Tuesday morning, we can see that there's going to be some moisture to the north and to the east of us. Some of this might even affect portions of the island in general. Then by afternoon, that's where we see some of this rainfall start to come across sections of mainly central and western parishes. Wednesday morning, what do we see on the Euro? Not much of anything, to be honest, but during the afternoon, that's when we see the greens represent rainfall coming in across eastern, central, and western parishes. Thursday morning, what do we see? Some isolated showers off the east coast of the island right here. Then by Thursday afternoon, we see that isolated afternoon rainfall across sections of some central parishes. What do we see on Friday morning? Some isolated showers to the north of us. Then by Friday afternoon across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's see what's going to be taking place on Saturday. We do see some isolated showers to the north of us. Then by Saturday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern parishes. Very interesting. Even sections of some southern and western parishes too. Let's see what's going to be taking place on Sunday. Look at that moisture across southern section of the island on Sunday morning. Then by Sunday afternoon, not seeing much of anything. Maybe some isolated showers across the northern edge of the island. We'll see how that actually plays out. Either way, this is the end of the 168 hour, and we can see this is around Monday, March 10, and we can make out the moisture associated with the frontal system that should be off the east coast of the US, extending down into portions of the Bahamas, sections of Cuba, the Western Caribbean, and section of Honduras. Not seeing much of anything across Jamaica because that is around 7 a.m. on a Monday. Let us match what we just saw on the latest Euro model to the latest GFS. Let us see if we have some amount of consensus. Let's see if we have agreement. So as we head into Tuesday morning, we see that rainfall that should be affecting portions of northeastern parishes, especially the waters to the north of us. Then by Tuesday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Heading into Wednesday morning, some rainfall to the northeast of us, maybe affecting northeastern parishes too. Then by Wednesday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, northern, and western parishes. Let's see what's happening on Thursday morning. Some rainfall to the south of us, some rainfall to the north and northeast of us. Thursday afternoon, we see that rainfall across the waters to the south of us, as well as across sections of some southeastern, south central, and maybe even southwestern parishes. Very interesting. Heading into Friday afternoon, we see some isolated showers across eastern, northern, and western parishes. Saturday, not seeing much of anything across the island in the morning, but the afternoon we see that across eastern, northern, and western parishes once again. Sunday, not seeing much of anything in the morning, not seeing much of anything in the afternoon either for Sunday, and we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is also valid for Monday, March 10. and we can see that there's not much of anything across the island, but we do see that moisture to the southwest of us in the southwestern Caribbean, moisture in the western Caribbean associated with the frontal system that we mentioned on the Euro. And we see that apparently it's going to be a bit more to the south and east of where the Euro has it, more so across the southern Bahamas, extending all the way up towards the east of Bermuda. The Euro has it more so towards the west of Bermuda. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps over the next 7 days are adamant that the most rainfall from now up until Monday, March 10 should be where we see all of those dark reds into purples and pinks. That's where you know we're receiving up to 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, maybe even 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. And we're talking about areas such as Colombia, eastern Panama, sections of western Venezuela, southern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, the waters to the north of the eastern Caribbean. That's where the most rainfall should be. And we see that it's not only the Euro model or the GFS model that's showing it, but the Euro model is showing the same thing. Look, there is consensus across the very same areas. So those people who reside in the Central American and northern South American countries should take the necessary precautions so that they're not that drastically affected if they indeed get some amount of isolated flash flooding. Either way, we see that there's going to be greens, if not yellows, if not oranges, if not some slight reds. That represents anywhere from 0.2 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to an inch of rainfall. Expected for portions of the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, section of Guatemala, section of Honduras, El Salvador, eastern Nicaragua, Costa Rica, sections of Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, section of Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, more so eastern Cuba, section of the Bahamas, especially the southern Bahamas, getting in on some of that rainfall too. And if we switch gears and focus a bit on Jamaica, the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps for the next 7 days are starting to dwindle down a bit. We see that it was more so some greens into yellows. Now we're heading back into blues, into the green. So I guess the rainfall is starting to taper off. It's starting to really look like March now, because you know that March is the peak of our dry season. And the rainfall that we've been receiving lately has been, outperforming the month of March in general in terms of rainfall. So yes, there's still going to be some amount of rainfall within the next 7 days, but not as much as what we've had over the past weeks or so. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are showing more blues into slight greens that represents anywhere from 5 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to maybe 15-20 millimeters of rainfall. The Euro showing a total of 29 millimeters of rainfall over in the northwestern end. GFS going up maybe up to 15, maybe 20 millimeters of rainfall. We will see exactly what unfolds, and whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here off the east coast of the US. We can see another ridge of high pressure right here to the north across the northern portion of North Atlantic. And we know these ridges of high pressure are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And with those easterly trade winds, you have some low to mid-level clouds being steered from east to west, some of which have some moisture within them. We can see this blue spike line right here, stretching from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into the southern Bahamas, eastern Cuba, associated with a frontal system, a cold front. We can see broken orange lines right here extending down into portions of Jamaica, induced by that frontal system, all courtesy of a trough that's affecting portion of Jamaica as we speak. And this trough is definitely going to be lingering and bringing even more rainfall to portions of Jamaica as we head into Tuesday. If we match what we just saw on the latest surface map to the latest visible satellite images of the Western Hemisphere, we can make out all of what we just saw. We can see the clouds associated with the frontal system extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portions of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, section of eastern Cuba, the Bahamas. We can also see some amount of clouds associated with that trough that brought some amount of rainfall to sections of Jamaica today. Still getting some of the rainfall as we speak. And we can make out the low level flow of the winds and the clouds being steered from east to west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure that is to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Monday, March 3, 2025. It was stated that rainfall was in the forecast of parts of some eastern, central, and western parishes on Monday afternoon. And we know that eastern parishes were referring to those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawny, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? As early as around 12:51 p.m., the visible satellite image was posted on some of our social media platforms, highlighting some clouds, bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, to portions of some eastern, central, and western parishes. We saw some of that across section of southern St. Elizabeth, section of Manchester, section of Clarendon, section of southern St. and northern St. Catherine, section of Kingston and St. Andrew, section of St. Thomas and Portland. And I was definitely in a portion of St. Andrew that got some decent rainfall at that time for sure. And even at around 6:15 p.m., so in the early evening, we were still getting in on some of the bad weather across sections of the island. The infrared close-up satellite images were posted not only here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but they were also posted on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So look at the infrared close-up satellite images showing some amount of clouds, bring some convection. We see the convection, we see the blues into greens, into yellows, into oranges, into red. That's thunderstorm activity. That's lashing portions of St. Elizabeth, portion of Westmoreland. And then we had that upper level wind shear blowing the high cold cloud tops off towards the east, as we mentioned in yesterday's video. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight, we can see where that cloud cover was taking place. Yes, we had that across eastern Jamaica earlier, but by the time we were starting to lose the sunlight, it was more confined to sections of central and western parishes, with the deep convection across sections of St. Elizabeth and Manchester right there. And we can see the infrared still showing that we still have some amount of high level clouds being streaked up to the east, all courtesy of that upper level wind shear. And we still have some milky whitish shades that represent some low to mid level clouds. They'll bring some amount of overcast skies, if not some rainfall, to sections of eastern Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon. Section of St. Catherine may be getting on some of the action too. Let me know what's happening. And if we take a look at the live camera right here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, this is showing halfway through in St. Andrew at around 12:49 p.m. And we can see it definitely raining, some decent rainfall for sure. Some moderate rainfall. We see people walking about with their umbrella. We see people in their vehicles rushing through before the traffic starts to build up. We can see the windshield wipers are definitely on. Some decent rainfall looking to the northern portions of St. Andrew. We see the hills definitely blanketed in some rainfall. The northeastern hills starting to clear out by that time. But halfway through, definitely got some decent rainfall for sure today. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, you can visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure. And they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you not only see the halfway tree cam, but the crossroads cam, the panoramic city view, as well as the Bogwalk Gorge in St. Catherine. And if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint quite the picture of how we might have had that rainfall today. Even although we know that it's not 100% accurate, it's somewhat accurate. We see the shades that represent millimeters of rainfall in the purples, blues, greens, yellows, oranges across sections of eastern, central, and western parishes. Even although we're 100% sure that it didn't get all the way up into the 100% plus millimeter range. We definitely have confirmation that it rained somewhere in Jamaica today, and we definitely have at least 2 comments here from some of our followers on our Instagram page confirming what the weather was like in their area. We have Star Youth stating raining in Ochi. We also have Sansi_cousin stating raining in northeast Manchester. Thank you very much for confirming what's taking place. And let us reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website. Let's see what's happening right now. And the latest still image is showing 0035 UTC, which is actually 7:35 p.m. So this just came out 7 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:42 p.m. right now. We can still make out the high cirrus clouds, or the upper level slight cumulonimbus clouds, definitely losing its strength as the upper level wind shear pushes it off towards the east. But we still have some amount of cloud cover, the milky whitish shades that represent some amount of low to mid level clouds, still possibly bringing some amount of rainfall to sections of some southern or southwestern parishes. And thankfully we have the Cuban Doppler radar back. You know that the Cuban Doppler radar has been done for quite some time. It is showing 710. Let's see if we reload it, if it's going to be showing something recent, up to at least 740. Very good. So it's showing an image that just came out 3 minutes ago, and we can see the greens into the yellows that represent what we see here on the key on the right. That's a moderate rainfall into some slightly heavy rainfall right there across sections of St. Elizabeth, southern Manchester, section of St. Catherine currently getting on some of the action. Maybe even sections of St. Andrew might even be getting on some isolated shores. The waters to the east of St. Thomas getting in on the rainfall too. We also see some rainfall right here to the south of Guantanamo, across section of eastern Cuba as well. And we can see that even better on the Guantanamo Bay Cuban naval radar imagery. We can see the rain bands right here. Let's reload it too, so that we have the very latest, and we see the rain bands, the ones that we just saw on the Cuban Doppler radar. We see the blues, we see the greens, we see the yellows that represent some light to moderate to some slightly heavy rainfall for sure. And we even make out that rainfall coming into portions of eastern Jamaica as well. Taking a look at the Cayman radar, let us reload this. Let's see if we can see that rainfall that we saw across the southwestern portion of the island on the Cayman radar. Do we see it? Alright, I think we're making out some sprinkles right here to the southeast of Grand Cayman, but that's just about it. Not seeing that rainfall across western Jamaica at all. Either way, we're happy. The Cuban Doppler radar is back. It has been glitched out for quite the longest time. That's the longest I've ever seen it glitch out in a long time. Thankfully it's back, because boy, we have to be depending on either it or the Jamaican radar. Jamaican radar has been done for years now. Hopefully they get it sorted out soon. Alright, taking a look at the live camera right here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing the flat bridge in St. Catherine. Not seeing much of anything going on right now. We can see the timestamp right here, 7:46 p.m. We see one vehicle right here crossing the flat bridge. Not much in the way of bad weather at all. Definitely dry conditions being experienced in this area as we speak. The rear Cobra definitely dry or chilling at this time for sure. Not dry, chilling, not rushing. Definitely still for sure. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, or where they should be getting as the night progresses. 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Tuesday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Tuesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellow shades that we can see from the key on the right that represents up to at least 1 degree Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperature for the month of March across the island of Jamaica is around 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius, that's around 30.7 degrees Celsius. So given the yellow that represents the 1 degree Celsius above normal temperature rise, we should be receiving anywhere from 30.7 to 31.7 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday. And unfortunately, we have some maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online's Twitter page that we have to highlight, because we know that when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Tuesday, March 4, 2025. And we're referring to Blue Hole to Boston in Portland from 7:45 a.m. to 6 p.m., Mendes Hill, Bearfield District, and Banner District in the parish of St. Catherine from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., a section of Norwood Housing Scheme, St. Peter Boulevard, Marks Avenue in St. James from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Wilton to Santa Cruz, Olive Park, Glencoe, Bybrook, Institution Drive, Pagan Drive, and roads leading off in the parish of St. Elizabeth from 8:15 a.m. to 5 p.m., Lime Tree Garden in St. Anne from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Nonpareil Road, as well as Roaring River in Westmoreland from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., section of Hampton Court in St. Thomas from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Moorfield to Wakefield in Trelawney from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., as well as Seaview Gardens in St. Andrew from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing, and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions, and pets. Be cool, stay indoors, and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest part of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated. Drink lots of water throughout the day, even if you're not thirsty. And put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we can see the abundance of dry air extending all across the Atlantic basin in general. And we know the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it very hard for it to rain in general. And we see the most dry air across portion of the main development region with these oranges and reds and whites within those reds. And we see the least amount of dry air across the intertropical convergence zone right here to the southwest of Western Africa, to the east of Brazil and French Guyana, across the waters to the west of Colombia, to the south of Costa Rica and Panama, across the eastern Pacific right there. That's where the most moist air is. But we see the low end of the scale in terms of dry air and the yellows across portion of the Caribbean, including Jamaica. That's what we like to see. We like to see the yellows. We like to see the moist air so that we have some amount of rainfall. So this explains why it's been raining recently. And it's also going to be explaining the rainfall that we're going to be receiving tomorrow, all courtesy of the trough in our area. And if we take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on, well, that is 8 a.m. on Tuesday, not 2 p.m. We see that the Saharan dust is not going to be affecting much of anywhere. North America, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, Central America, Northern South America in the clear, because all the slight shades of brown to represent the Saharan dust should be across the southern portion of the main development region. And we're also happy that we're not seeing that dark shade of brown either. We know the dark shade of brown means that we're going to be getting on some very hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're indeed grateful, but that is the Saharan dust forecast for 8 a.m. on Tuesday. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues extending from the western Caribbean across the central to the eastern Caribbean. That window represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave height. While we're seeing the purples into the pinks that represents 2 to 3, maybe even up to 4 meter wave heights across section of the Gulf, across the waters to the east of Florida, section of the Bahamas, the waters to the east of the Caribbean. And that's because of the winds that are expected. We see more dull greens that represents anywhere from 10 to 15 knots across the central to the western Caribbean right here. And we see the flow of the winds from east to west, while more of a southerly flow across the Gulf. And we see the yellows that represents 25 to 30 knot winds. We also see the yellows across the waters to the east of the Bahamas, coming in from the east and pushing into Florida, representing 20 to 25, maybe even 30 knots. We see the bright greens across the waters to the east of the Caribbean, 20, maybe 15 to 20 knots at most. And regarding Jamaica's wave forecast, the waters to the north of the island up to 0.9 of a meter wave height tomorrow. South coast 1.1 meter wave height. And that's because of the winds that are expected. On the north coast, wind should be getting up to at least 11 knots. South coast up to even 11 knots too. And we see where the air is going to be piling up across inland areas of some central and western parishes. And whatever comes off of the sea could definitely bring us some rainfall. Two very interesting forecasts in general, and with the upper level wind still coming in from the west, we could still get in on more of this. We saw what took place today when we had that convection, when the high cold cloud tops were being sheared off towards the east. We could still get in on some more of that on Tuesday. That's if we have some isolated afternoon thunderstorm in the afternoon. Taking a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now. Both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are showing 7 a.m. on Tuesday, and it's interesting that both maps are showing some amount of rainfall across sections of northeastern parishes, maybe section of St. Anne, Portland, maybe even far eastern St. Thomas getting on the action. That's where we see the shaded areas in blues that represent some isolated showers, and we see the agreement on both maps. When we have agreement, the chances are higher for it to happen. So look out for rainfall if you're in eastern St. Thomas, St. Mary, or Portland. That's in the morning. And then by afternoon at around 3 p.m., this is what the Euro is showing, and this is what the GFS is showing. Very interesting. The Euro is showing more of the blues that represent rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. The GFS is showing that rainfall across central and western parishes too, but trying to incorporate section of eastern Jamaica, maybe section of western St. Thomas, southwestern Portland. Either way, look at Kingston, embedded in some dark blues, even section of St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, southern Trelawney, southern St. James. A very interesting afternoon forecast. We're definitely going to be in for some amount of afternoon rainfall on Tuesday. Look out for that. If you're going out, bring an umbrella with you. There is definitely going to be rainfall on Tuesday for sure. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus that it should be raining within the next 24 hours. Both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected across Jamaica from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday. And we can clearly see the greens into the yellows into the oranges that represent anywhere from 0.2 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 0.5 of an inch of rainfall for a section of the island, especially right here across Kingston and St. Andrew. That's where the Euro has the most of it, 0.5. The GFS has up to 0.6 in the same spot. A very interesting forecast. We'll see how it actually plays out, and we'll definitely take it. Do you know why? Because we're in the month of March, and it is our driest month of the year across Jamaica. In Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we usually receive up to at least 10 millimeters of rainfall for the month of March. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 2.2 inches of rainfall for the month of March. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives for the month of March or for the entire year in terms of rainfall, you can visit www.weather-and-climate.com, and that website to show you that information. And you can use this graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters that we receive on the rain gauge. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the calculations yourself. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some thunderstorm activity currently lashing portions of Colombia. We see the moisture extending from a section of Central America up into Jamaica, up into eastern Cuba, Haiti, the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos associated with the trough interacting with the frontal system. We see the low-level patches of clouds being steered from east to west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north across section of the eastern Caribbean. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, let's see what's happening down there right now. We see some isolated shores across sections of southwestern Puerto Rico, the waters to the south of Puerto Rico. We see some isolated shores in and around St. Kitts and Nevis to the east of Antigua and Barbuda, affecting section of Guadeloupe. and Dominica as we speak. And if we load these images from earlier today, we can see that section of eastern, central, and western Puerto Rico, we're definitely getting some moderate to heavy rainfall. So too sections of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we see those rain bands coming in from the east, coming into portion of the Leeward Islands too. Taking a look at the Barbados radar, not seeing much of anything happening right now. Maybe some isolated sprinkles coming in from the east. We see most of the rainfall passing to the north of Barbados, pushing towards the west, towards maybe section of Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, section of northern St. Vincent, getting on some of the action as we speak. Not seeing much of anything across the Grenadines or Grenada or Tobago. Maybe if we look at the weather via Doppler radar images, we might see something across Tobago or Trinidad. Not seeing that at all. But we do see some rainfall across sections of Colombia as we speak. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that the most rainfall should be across sections of Colombia, southern and western Venezuela in the oranges and the reds. So to the waters to the north of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. We also see rainfall in store for sections of eastern Honduras, section of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, sections of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, section of Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, eastern Cuba, the southern Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.